Okay, hello, bonjour. That was hello in Blackfoot, English, and French. My name is Tim Curran, and I'm here in Treaty 7 territory, which is where I was born and raised, but I come from settler ancestry, mainly Britain and Ireland. Treaty 7 territory is in Calgary, Alberta, which consists of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani First Nations, also home to the Tsuut'ina First Nation, the Stoney Nakoda, which consists of the Bearspaw, Wesley, and Chiniki First Nation, and lastly, Métis Region 3. So I'm here currently researching land-based and experiential learning, which is why I'm in Fish Creek Park in Calgary, Mohkinstsis. And I'm studying land-based learning in the context of post-secondary education and learning in general, in partnership with the Aboriginal Friendship Center of Calgary and my faculty mentor, James Stutch. The conversation ahead will be based in a system change lens and discuss the critical need to better include more culturally diverse perspectives in our systems of learning, especially at post-secondary. The research question I've been working with is how might post-secondary education benefit from embracing bicultural or multicultural land-based and experiential learning. Thank you. I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so this is part one of the video. I'm back here in Fish Creek Provincial Park, Calgary, Mohkinstsis, and Mohkinstsis is the Blackfoot word for the place in which Calgary is located on, the bend of the Elbow River. So the question in this part I'll be discussing is why is system change in post-secondary education important to include culturally diverse perspectives in land-based learning? So while many forms of land-based learning or experiential learning exist in post-secondary education, such as international studies or community service learning, there is a severe lack in Indigenous perspectives across the entirety of post-secondary education, and is not consistent in all of institutions in Turtle Island. While this is changing, there's still challenges to create these spaces. Like Mount Royal at one point was working to run a Treaty 7 field study program, but got discontinued. However, the science department is working with Indigenous science to incorporate both Western and Indigenous streams of thought in their programs. So continuing to shift post-secondary education to more significantly embrace Indigenous streams of knowledge, especially local knowledge, is crucial because current post-secondary centers around Western lens, even though there's some Indigenous perspectives being incorporated. By incorporating local perspectives and knowledge into post-secondary learning spaces more significantly, there is systems change occurring and social relationships evolving and changing and to create new streams of knowledge and spaces of learning. By embracing diverse sets of knowledge and culture within post-secondary education, Western knowledge is becoming decentralized and shifting to embrace broader perspectives of learning and how we can get outside or experience more than one aspect of learning and stream of thought. Okay, so this is part two of the video, and in this part we'll be discussing how can system change occur by embracing culturally diverse education within post-secondary. So from what I have learned over the last 8 months in the Catamount Fellowship, the land is the center point of our existence, our knowledge, the languages we form, and the way in which we come to know the world. It is healing, nurturing, and humbling, and has allowed us to form cultures, languages, and knowledge all across the world. So system change in our learning starts with revising the relationship to the land and how we come to see its value and its teachings it provides us. Seeing the land as central to our existence helps to frame an understanding of how language, culture, and acquisition of knowledge starts with the land, because it would not be able to form connections or survive without the land and what it provides to us. Post-secondary institutions can embrace diverse perspectives and amplify local culture, knowledge, and language by continuing to form connections with community and create spaces of reciprocity. Mount Royal University resides on Treaty 7 Blackfoot territory and is adjacent to Tsuut'ina First Nation. So to embrace culturally diverse education, it would be important to recognize the culture and history in which Mount Royal University is on. By not only recognizing the land in which we reside on, but by actively engaging with the culture, knowledge, and language, we can form new relationships and connections to push for greater change over time. Okay, so this is part 3 of the video, and in this part we will be discussing how might post-secondary education apply systems change to learning practices that amplify local indigenous knowledge, culture, language, and perspectives. So post-secondary institutions use terms such as decolonization or allyship to describe processes being undertaken to address institutional racism within the institutions. However, the actions taken are more critical to focus on than the terminology itself. The application of systems change occurs in actions taken to embrace broader perspectives on learning within post-secondary. Examples of this include how institutions create connections with community and generate benefit for the community through research and programs at institutions. Community benefit is essential and has been shown through the Catamount Fellowship, in which I have been involved in over the last 8 months, and shows how community engaged research can help amplify local organizations' voices and create benefit for the research that institutions carry out. This challenges institutional norms of research and how community can be better included in research and resources that institutions provide and have access to. It creates space for reciprocity, respect, resilience, and relationships. It allows for more holistic aspects of learning and broader perspectives to be included. Addressing systemic and institutional racism is a critical element to this and is done through intentional allyship and steps towards meaningful reconciliation with Indigenous communities. Enabling healing through our learning and achieving it through connecting with all our relations in the land is crucial. Okay, so this is part 4 of the video. In this part, we're talking about enablers and barriers to system change in post-secondary education. So with system change, there comes both progress and resistance to the change as bases of comfort get disrupted. So post-secondary education is a place where knowledge is both produced and taught. But the Western focus and colonial legacy of our education systems have created barriers in the breadth and broad perspectives of knowledge and culture that is out there. So what aspects of post-secondary allow for transition to occur in post-secondary education? Well, post-secondary institutions have allowed for critical research to challenge the norms of Western post-secondary education, as the concept of academic freedom has created this space, but this also has created space for the continuation of institutional racism and barriers to producing broader perspectives and incorporation of broader perspectives within our programming in post-secondary education. But scholars such as Willie Ermine have created the concept of the ethical space of engagement and have allowed for the ability to blend both Western and Indigenous knowledge in the space of post-secondary education, or Leroy Littlebear, who has brought a major insight into Indigenous science and metaphysics and looking inward on oneself. So what aspects cause barriers to arise? Well, resistance to change occurs through processes of change and evolution as comfort is disrupted. A lot of times people interpret this discomfort as a threat rather than a space of growth. So I'm not providing a typical scholarly output that is in the written form. And this is typically not a common practice, but I think it is important to speak orally in this context about land-based learning to challenge and both provide information that cannot necessarily be translated on paper. So this is crucial for making learning spaces and information more accessible to the community and organizations not within the scope of post-secondary education. Okay, so this is part 5 of the video. In this part, we'll be talking about the major shifts occurring and understanding the progress being made in connecting back to the land at post-secondary education. So a couple of good examples to consider looking at land-based learning and community engagement, would be the Dashinta Center for Research and Learning, which is a land-based focused center for research and learning in Turtle Island in the northern part of Canada, um, as well as University of Victoria, working in community engaged research and programs, such as through their law program, the Joint Degree Program in Canadian Common Law and Indigenous Legal Orders. So there is a growing focus on incorporating more community engaged research and initiatives within post-secondary, um, to engage students and faculty in learning opportunities beyond the classroom with the community. This can be seen with a growing number of institutions dedicated to land-based learning and community-engaged research. As well, universities in general have begun making shifts towards enabling more space for broader perspectives in research and programming, and creating channels to connect with community. The Catamount Fellowship and Institute for Community Prosperity reflect this as it connects to undergraduate research to the community. Understanding the progress being made in a messy and complex system of learning is not easy or necessarily visible. However, research such as this aims to shed light on what is out there and the importance of community engagement. Okay, so that was it for the video. Thank you in Miigwech. That was thank you in Anishinaabe and Ojibwe. So this video sought to reflect on system change in land-based and experiential learning at the post-secondary level, as well as learning in general. I hope it offered insight into the possibilities of what is out there and how we can start connecting back to the land, especially in our learning, and how we produce knowledge. And as a thank you for filming in Fish Creek, I'm giving some sweetgrass back to the land. So thank you again